Hi, I'm Misty Velasky, and you're watching Ojai Valley News In Depth. Joining us today for the second time is Rob Clark, Ojai's city manager. Thanks for coming in.
Well, it's a pleasure, Misty. Good to see you again.
Yeah. So it's been a little bit over a year. February 2011, you came and visited us first. So tell us, is the job what you expected so far?
Well, I guess I'd say yes and no. I've worked in a number of small communities, and just like every other small community, we have our issues. But I think one of the things that's been surprising to me is that this community seems a lot more engaged. And what I mean is there's a whole lot of people, and they have a whole lot of different ideas, and we spent a lot of time working through all those ideas, which actually is a lot of fun. My former city council members would be very jealous of this.
A lot of opinions in Ojai.
There, no doubt.
So what have been your greatest achievements and disappointments, too, since you've been here?
Well, I think, one of the things that I noticed right off when I got here is that the town has not been able to maintain its roads and its parks and so forth because it's been through a recession like everybody else. But even before that, it went through the remodeling of the inn. So it's been a long time since we've been able to address some of those things. And I know that paving streets probably sounds a little bit boring and patching buildings, but it's a really important function for us. And so one of my my most important achievements, I think, has been working with the council to get money to start doing some of these things. So we just awarded a bid to pave a couple streets in town. We're going to do the Fulton Street extension finally after a long time. We tore down the Sarzati Park restrooms on Monday, and we're starting rebuilding new restrooms there.
And that's the ones in the back, right?
The ones in the back, yep, right by the playground. And then we're soon going to have a ribbon cutting for the restroom at the skateboard park.
Oh, flush toilets now.
Yeah, we have to figure out where exactly you put the ribbon for this kind of event. But I think the council, when they sat down and thought about their priorities, getting the town into a position where it's more well maintained is really a high priority. And so we're having to focus our money there and our efforts there, and I'm very proud of that.
So that's probably a bit of a double-edged sword as well. What are some of the disappointments so far?
It's hard to really think of any major disappointment. I think the biggest hardship for us has been what the state's been doing to the cities.
Sure.
And we in Ojai had saved up housing money for quite a number of years in the hopes of being able to do some more affordable housing projects, and had even purchased some land on Montgomery Street to do that. And now the state they're calling it sweeping. They're sweeping all the money away from the cities to balance their budget. So we stand to lose $2 million of money that could have been spent for rehabbing housing, for building new housing, for helping people buy housing for the first time. And it's sad to see that not happen because there's a lot of opportunity here. I think sometimes people worry about low and moderate income housing, but there's a lot of low and moderate income housing programs that are very positive, very helpful, and that opportunity seems to be slipping away. So that's probably my biggest disappointment.
Now, a lot of disappointments all over California and all over the nation right now. Stockton, San Bernardino, your former city of Mammoth Lakes, a lot of bankruptcies going on with cities. So how does that happen, number one? And number two, how do we avoid that from happening in Ojai?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. Revenue's going down because of the recession and taking a long time to go up, but also the commitments that have been made for retirement and health benefits and things to not only current employees, but to employees after they retire. And there was sort of some misleading information that came out to cities during the 90s. In the 90s, they told everybody that their retirement funds were superfunded, and that they wouldn't have to pay as high a rate for retirement as they had been paying. And so a lot of cities gave out more generous retirement benefits and other benefits as a result of that. And it's kind of coming back to haunt them because the assumptions that were made by the people who run the pension systems were not right. And it's not just a California issue, it's a nationwide issue.
So how do we stop that from happening here?
It's a slow process. We adopted changes to our retirement system even before I came on board. We've made some changes to our health program, and we're going to be making some more. But basically, we're just getting more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what can a city really afford?
Sure.
One thing that's very good for us is that we're more dependent on hotel tax than most cities. And property tax, although it's a stable source, has been pushed down because values have pushed down and so forth. But with hotel tax, yeah, it was pushed down very hard during the recession, and that forced us to skinny down our staff and work with the minimum number of people possible. And so now that it's coming back, instead of hiring on new staff, we're setting aside money in our capital improvement savings account. So last year we set aside $300,000. This year we set aside $300,000, and we're going to increase that amount each year and focus less on hiring employees to do things and more on hiring contractors to do things.
Sure.
So I think we'll actually be in good shape.
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
So now on to some controversial decisions that have been happening. The plastic bag ban. You're talking earlier about opinions. Boy, oh boy, do we have them on that. So do you believe, in your personal opinion, is it the council's job to tell people how they should transport their groceries?
Well, sadly, I think this is really a statewide and even a nationwide issue. Mm-hmm. And in some states, the state has been able to grapple with it and set a rule for everybody, so everybody's doing the same thing. But in our state, for whatever reason, maybe their financial issues, they could be distracted. The state didn't do it, and so each local area is kind of stuck trying to figure it out themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's a good thing, I think, because there are bad things that happen when these plastic bags get into the environment. But it's really, unfortunately, something that should be dealt with at a higher level so that everybody's doing it, not just hit or miss. But I'm glad Ojai decided to do it, and I think it's a good thing, and I know it's a big adjustment. I keep walking into the store, even though I have my bag in the back of my car, I forget. But I think we'll all learn, and I think at the end of the day it'll be a good thing.
Another big controversy going on in Ojai right now, smart meters. Are they dangerous, or should we be worried about this?
To tell you the truth, I think the jury's out on whether they're dangerous or not. They've been approved by the federal regulators, but there's also, sort of unresolved issues. We didn't know about greenhouse gases when we started using gasoline, and I don't think we know about radio frequencies, everything there is to know. It doesn't appear to be a big danger, but I know people are very concerned about it. And again, it's one of those issues where the state's actually preempted us, and the Public Utilities Commission is the one that's responsible. But people want cities to step in and do something. And so our council has adopted a moratorium, but more as a statement of their position and their policy.
It's more symbolic.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's going to happen with this. There's other utilities that are going to be looking at the same kind of technology or similar types of technologies. There's also an ongoing PUC case where they're looking at community-wide opt-outs, but mm-hmm. we don't know how those will be worked and whether there'll be fees associated with them. So it's quite a challenging issue.
And rounding out the top 3 controversies, the newest controversy in Ojai, the crosswalk stanchions in the middle of Ojai. Tell us about how that came about, and is this a good thing?
So I can't blame the state on this one. We're trying to do all sorts of things to spruce up downtown, to make it prettier. We've been doing painting down there. We're replacing tiles around the fountain. We're trying to upgrade all the facilities in the plaza. And we had this great idea of making the crosswalk safer. And so we started but with the crosswalk that's behind the plaza and put up one stanchion. And that was actually very well received. And mm-hmm. it helps, when the farmers market's going and so forth. And so we thought the next best step was to move out onto Ojai Avenue. And this actually took quite a bit of work because we had to go to Caltrans and get approvals from them and mm-hmm. get their agreement that it was fine. And then also we found out that instead of having one stanchion in each crosswalk, because the fire trucks and the ambulances use that center section, we needed to separate them. Mm-hmm. And so we've done this on a trial basis. Frankly, we're getting a lot of calls on it, and I'm not sure it's something that's going to last.
Yeah. Might get voted down. Is there a lot of crime going on? Or I'm sorry, not crime. Is there a lot of people getting hit? Is that what sort of prompted this, or what's the real reason behind it?
We haven't had a lot of accidents. We have a lot of the brakes being slammed on and things like that. And we have heard from the merchants that there's less of that. So I think they do add a safety piece.
But aesthetically,
but there's an aesthetic piece too, and it's always a case of balance and what works out the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're trying to do things that make Ojai better and prettier and nicer for our visitors, and I'm sure some will work out very well and some may not. So we'll have to see.
So what's the biggest concern for Ojai coming up here?
Well, I think we've passed the budget. It's a balanced budget, and that's a good thing. There's always a concern about what's going to happen if the economy takes another dive, mm-hmm. or if there's some new mandate imposed on us or new problem that arises. And we're a little bit thin financially in terms of reserves. So I think trying to figure out how to build up our reserves is a big issue. And part of that is an ongoing fight that we're having with the state over whether we get to keep money that we lent to our redevelopment agency or whether we have to turn it over to them. And it's a big deal. It's about a $5 million deal. Mm. So when we put our budget together and we put our long-term plans together, we didn't count on being able to recover this money, but we're definitely putting up the good fight. And we have a series of new boards that have been created by the state, and the local boards seem to be very cooperative and willing to work with us, and understanding that if we get this money, it adds to the health and vibrancy of the community. And so that's kind of a big focus right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. Thank you very much, Rob. We appreciate your time.
Well, glad to be here, and I'm glad to come back again. You don't have to wait a year and a half next time.
All right. Well, any other things coming up, I'm taking you up on that one.
Well, that sounds good.
I'm Misty Velasky. This is Rob Clark. This has been Ojai Valley News in Depth.